Hello, welcome once again to the Lincolnshire Police Authority Question Time, where our focus is on the policing of the fair county of Lincolnshire. And here to talk about that, to answer your questions, is the Chairman of the Police Authority, Mr. Barry Young, his Deputy, Mr. John Cook, the Deputy Chief Constable, Mr. Neil Rhodes, and Russ Hardy, Chief Superintendent and Divisional Commander. Can we start, please, here with a very direct question. Why is Lincolnshire Police underfunded by central government? I suppose since the Police Authority deals principally with funding, with raising funds, that's fair to ask you that question.
Well, it's not for want of trying on our part. We are underfunded. We've been underfunded almost forever. We get far less of a fair share of the cake than almost anybody else in the country. But we are where we are, and I don't want anybody to run away with the idea that we spend all our time as being obsessed with lack of funding.
Does that bother you, as Vice Chairman, John? I gather that this has become something of an obsession with in some quarters.
Yes, and I don't think the obsession sits now within the police authority itself.
I think that's what I was intending to say.
Yeah. It is outside the authority. I agree with Barry. We are where we are. We fought a hard campaign. There are still areas where we feel that we can lobby government and influence government, particularly about a thing called floors and ceilings, which is a technical issue, but basically it says the funding formula says what you need, and if you come outside a certain percentage of that funding formula, if you're above it, you give money away, and if you're below it, you get money. And it seems, even though we are underfunded, we seem to have been giving money away. So we are still lobbying to try and resolve that issue. But in essence, the key for us is that we wish to see a very efficient and effective police force here, and that we will drill down with them until we can find if there is savings to be made or efficiencies to be made. As Barry says, we are funded to the level that we are funded, and the people of Lincolnshire pay quite a lot of money towards that funding now, and it's only right and proper that the force should give them the service that they feel is needed for them.
I feel very guilty for asking that question, actually, because I know that as far as the authority is concerned, you want to draw a line under all this,
yes, we do.
This funding business, and you know, we've got what we've got. We'll do our very best with it. The force will do their very best with the money that we're given. But it is true that people within the county still, when they think of the police authority, think, oh, you know, they're the people who are always crying the poor tale. And
it's probably the message that we were putting out for the past 5 years. It doesn't come as a surprise, but we need to move on.
Right, okay. Can I put to you, Neil, a question from Mrs. Robinson in North Highcombe, and it's to do with funding. She says, regardless of the funding situation, when are we going to get the services that we pay for?
Lincolnshire Police might be one of the comparatively poorer funded forces in the country. But perversely, what that's also made us over recent years is actually one of the most efficient and one of the most effective forces, because we've worked very hard to make sure that out of every pound of taxpayers and council taxpayers' money that we receive, we put as much of it onto the front line of the force as we possibly can. And what that's looked like over the past couple of years is converting some posts that were previously done in the back office by police officers into posts that can be done by ordinary members of the public, and putting those police officers back on the beat. We're now in a position where we probably have one of the highest proportion of police officers in the country actually on the streets of this county, and that's a good place to be in. We work very hard to squeeze every penny out of every pound in terms of value, and through cuts and efficiencies, working with the authority, we've managed to find the money to put 22 extra cops on the streets next year, and that's pretty good news. And I think that Mrs. Robinson can take some comfort from the fact that there will be more officers on the beat in this county next year, and that's a pretty rare thing across this country where many forces are actually standing still or shrinking in size, and I'm quite proud of what we've achieved together.
There is a second part to Mrs Robinson's question. Thank you very much indeed, Mrs Robinson, for this. Maybe, Russ, as a divisional commander, I should ask you this. You alluded to it, Neil. Why don't police officers spend 80% of their time on the beat, as the policing pledge says they will? It does say in the policing pledge 80% of time will be spent on the beat. Does it or does it
well,
not?
the policing pledge, I mean, it's a fair point, because, you know, day to day, regardless of the number of staff, it's my job to make sure I've got the absolute maximum quality out of those staff. You know, reducing sickness, reducing overtime, making sure they're out of the police stations, doing the job that the public want them to see, and that's my job. And the pledge actually says, you know, neighbourhood policing teams should spend at least 80% of the time on their area. And in this force, we are well in excess of 90% for that target, so we are well in excess of that one. But what it doesn't cover is perhaps what Mrs Robinson's alluding to, is the fact that actually in a lot of studies that are done, most police officers across the country spend less than half of their working day out on patrol, and that's something where we need to look at reducing bureaucracy, reducing some of the demands that can be dealt with by other means, whether it be by other members of staff or on the telephone or however that's done, so that we can get more cops out there, or the cops that we've got out on the street a lot more. And that's what we need to do by using PCSOs, because we touched on it earlier. If you give PCSOs more powers, with more powers comes more paperwork. With more paperwork comes more time in a police station. And I think we just need to keep this into perspective. But please rest assured that, you know, every divisional commander, every inspector, every sergeant, every officer wants to spend as much time as they can out there on the beat and not behind a desk. So we're doing everything we can, but as a force, we're well in excess of that 80% target.
Okay, Russ, thank you very much indeed. Gentlemen, thank you. And that's it from the Police Authority Question Time for the moment. You can, of course, see reruns of this as often as you like on our website, which is www.lincolnshire-pa.gov.uk. There's a link from that to the Force website. And, of course, you can watch us again and again and again and again. We hope you will on YouTube. And we would like very much for you to send in any questions either to the website or if you want to pick the phone up, you can call us at the Police Authority. If you have been watching, thank you very much indeed. Bye-bye for now.